Hello guys, today we're going to be talking about South Africa. So if you're ready, let's find out.
こんにちは、全人類と友達になる男、僕がミスター藤です。そして
I'm Kai. I'm Jacques.
Paul. What do you say? 今日のテーマは南アフリカについて。Which country are you from, guys?
Canada. South Africa.
マレーシア。南アフリカのジャックがね来てくれたので、ジャックでいい？
ジャックじゃない。
ジャックじゃない。
Jacques.
Jacques.
Yeah, it's a long sound.
はい、ジャックとね一緒に南アフリカについて話を聞きたいと思います。それでは行ってみましょう。
Thanks for joining us, Jack. Please tell us more about yourself.
Well, you all know my name already. My name is Jacques. I come from South Africa. I was born in Port Elizabeth, a small city on the coast, and I lived in Cape Town for a few years. Cape Town is one of the more international cities. And yeah, South Africa is a really good country. Of course, we have many issues, but it's a really great place. Lots of different cultures, different languages, and yeah, so I'd love to know, what is your first impressions of when I say South Africa?
The most dangerous country in the world.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, yeah, next.
I know you guys have really good fried plantains. No? Am I wrong? Snacks?
Okay, next, yeah.
Last time I heard about South Africa is about Cape Town. My friend went to Cape Town for
2 hours later.
Scuba diving.
Scuba diving.
It's a they have a very beautiful underwater scenery stuff like that. So that's my impressions.
Okay, very interesting.
So do they have fried plantains?
I think you're a bit off on that one, but in terms of being a really dangerous country, yes, unfortunately that is true. We have a lot of crime in South Africa. Unfortunately, we are very high on the list of certain extremely dangerous crimes such as rape and murder. But every country has their problems. I still think South Africa is a really great country, and like any place, you know where the bad places are, you know where the good places are. So if you know what you're doing, you can be safe in South Africa.
So is it safe for me to walk out at night by myself?
I think it really just depends where you are.
How about like
Generally,
Cape Town?
yeah, in like a bigger city, if you know there's lots of people out and you're walking in a well-lit area, it should be fine. But unfortunately, for the most part, you shouldn't be doing too many things alone at night. Yeah. Very different to Japan. Yeah.
Okay, so for example, what's going to happen?
Well,
Get robbed.
many things could happen. Yeah, you could be mugged, you know, your possessions stolen, these kind of things. Very common for those kind of things to happen. So
police doesn't work?
yeah, the policing system, let's just say it's not exactly working as it should be.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, how about if you were to recommend something in Cape Town to somebody, what would be your number one recommendation?
Well, in Cape Town specifically, I mean, we have Table Mountain.
Okay.
So
Is that a hiking destination?
yeah, so this is basically a huge mountain that is almost completely flat on top. So it looks like a table. And it has so many amazing hiking routes. You can hike all the way to the top, or you can take a cable car. And on Table Mountain, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of plant species, different kinds of wildlife. So it's really like a beautiful place to visit. And I mean, Cape Town, there are just so many things to do. One interesting thing that a lot of tourists like to do is shark cage diving.
Shark cage.
Shark cage diving.
Shark cage.
Sounds...
So off the coast of Cape Town, there's a little place called Seal Island. And of course, seals, one of the main predators are sharks. And not just any shark, it's the great white shark.
Ooh, notorious.
And so if you want to see sharks up close and personal, feel free to go shark cage diving.
Wow.
Personally, not something I would do, but yeah, for the brave out there.
Do you know how much it would cost for one person to do it?
Off the top of my head, I can't think of it now, but I think if you're coming from Japan or any European country, it should be fairly cheap for you. Yeah.
No, very cheap.
For all, yeah, for everybody who wants to try it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Nicolas Cage diving.
Nicholas Cage diving.
Where is the country?
Okay. Funnily enough, that's not a stupid question.
Really? I don't really know about.
So, do you know where Africa is? The continent of Africa.
Yeah.
So, picture Africa. Right at the bottom is South Africa. Very easy, South Africa.
The
South of the
Egypt.
country.
Egypt is the upper side of Africa continent, right?
Yeah, so Egypt is like right at the top, South Africa is right at the bottom. Yeah. So it's very easy to remember. South Africa, just think of South, right at the bottom.
How long does it take from Japan to go to South Africa?
Well, there aren't really, it's not a very popular route. So direct flights are not very common. So you'll generally have to go South Africa to Hong Kong and then Hong Kong to Tokyo, for example. So for me, when we came, it was about from Johannesburg to Hong Kong was about 12 hours. And then there might be some kind of layover time in Hong Kong, and then from Hong Kong to Tokyo is about 5 hours. So it's quite a trip, yeah. It's
Half of the globe.
yeah. I mean,
Yes.
pretty much you are going to the other side of the world.
So
pretty
what's
much.
the time difference between Japan and
Japan
South-
is about 7 hours ahead.
7 hours ahead?
Yeah. So basically, I was traveling into the future, and the jet lag is crazy. Yeah.
Like, it's in the south hemisphere, so is it snowing right now over there?
So it's winter now in South Africa, but the climate is very moderate. So our summers and our winters aren't like very extreme. So summer, it does get quite hot, but it's very, very dry. So compared with Japan, that's super humid. In South Africa, if you stand in the shade or undercover, you should be fine.
Yeah.
And then, of course, in the winter, it's most of our rain comes in the winter, so it's cold and wet. And we do get like tiny bits of snow on top of the mountains and stuff, but generally, yeah, most South Africans probably haven't seen snow before.
So you guys have a lot of languages, right? So what's national language?
So technically, we have 11 official languages. Most of these are African languages, so I cannot speak any of them. But generally, English is considered like the national language, as in the language of business and that kind of stuff. So, of course, for myself, English is my first language, and a lot of my family is Afrikaans. So this is a language pretty much only spoken in South Africa and a few other Southern African countries.
How about what do you guys learn? I mean, the language you guys learn in school.
So that also depends on which part of the country you live in. But generally, in like elementary school, we would usually learn 3 languages. So most of this, if you are an English-speaking person, you'll go to an English-speaking school. And then your second language will most likely be Afrikaans. So you will learn Afrikaans throughout school. And then a lot of schools also do a third language. And so from where I'm from in South Africa, we had Xhosa.
What did you say?
So the language is called Xhosa.
What
This is a clip.
Of course. What? Can you?
So it's spelled XHOSA.
XHOSH. And can you pronounce it?
So I apologize to anyone, any Xhosa speaking people who are watching. But yeah, so There we go, really good, yeah. It's like in your cheek over here. Like if you call a horse or something, like, you know?
Kosa.
Yeah.
Kosa.
Kosa.
It's close enough. Trust me, even many South Africans, especially English-speaking South Africans, they can't pronounce Xhosa or any kind of African languages. They are extremely foreign as well. So in school, generally we will learn 3 types of languages, and then in high school that becomes more focused on usually 2 languages. So for me, English, of course, first language. And then Afrikaans, I continued throughout high school. But if you are like a Xhosa speaking person,
I shouldn't laugh.
no, it's a great reaction. But yeah, so if English isn't your first language, it's like your second language, then you can choose to take Xhosa instead of Afrikaans, for example. Yeah, but I mean, we have English-speaking schools, we have Afrikaans-speaking schools, we have Xhosa-speaking schools, and then if you are from different parts of the country, they will have different African languages. So Zulu is actually the most widely spoken language in South Africa, but that's from a different part of the country. So depending on where you're from, the languages will be slightly different, but yeah, for me, English is my first language, Afrikaans, and very basic Xhosa.
So can you speak Afrikaans now?
Ja, ek kan 'n bietjie Afrikaans praat. Dus ja, verskoon my familie as julle my hoor. Ja,
Sounded like Spanish.
Yeah, Spanish.
so it's basically Afrikaans is kind of like people call it baby Dutch. So it's basically Dutch that has been changed over many years. So it's kind of like a South African version of Dutch in a way. So if I speak Afrikaans, Dutch people will be able to understand. Wow. And I can probably understand a tiny bit of Dutch, but Dutch people always say that Afrikaans sounds like you're speaking slowly, like a child.
No, they call it
Yeah.
baby Dutch.
Yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
that's
Yeah.
So now can you speak? What?
So I could say like, isiXhosa andithetha. No, andithetha isiXhosa. So like, I can't speak Xhosa. But I can say like, igama lam ngu Jacques. So like, my name is Jacques.
Ikamalam.
Igama lam ngu
Jacques.
Jacques. So my name is Jacques. You can say, the most important thing you need to learn is ndilambile.
Dilambile.
I'm hungry. So that,
Wait. Except sa, you guys don't use sound.
no, there are many words. So I'm hungry is ndilambile, but I'm thirsty is ndinghaniwe.
Just a question then.
Yeah.
Like, don't the native people in Africa often get lost in translation given that there's so many languages? Like, or they can just somehow pick out what to say.
It's an interesting one. Obviously, for myself, not being a native Xhosa or an African language speaker, I can't really give you a first-hand experience. But, for example, Zulu, which is the most widely spoken language, and Xhosa, they're actually very similar. So if a Zulu-speaking person and a Xhosa-speaking person were having a conversation, they could probably communicate perfectly fine, you know. Some words might sound a little bit weird or strange.
Wow.
It's like for you guys who are from Malaysia, if someone from Indonesia had to speak to you, they might be able to pick up a lot of words, or you might be able to communicate, you know.
See.
So, yeah, I'm sure there are many cases where people do get lost in translation, but I think that's more between English and native African speakers, yeah.
So if you're a Japanese tourist and you want to come to Africa, the safest language to speak is English.
Yeah,
You'll be able to survive.
especially for tourism. Tourism is going to be mostly in English.
How about the signboards around the city or something? Written in English?
Pretty much all signage, that kind of stuff, news, newspapers, magazines, most of it is going to be in English.
Wow.
Of course, you will get specialty like Afrikaans or African language versions of everything, but everywhere you go, you will see English pretty much. Unless you are in extreme rural areas, for example.